welcome back to Visceral Reactions, your regular stop for irregular amounts of horror. And you know what we say here, it's always bears.
Fucking bears.
I'm Matthew Germanis.
I'm Quentin Williams.
Today's going to be a little bit weird because we are being recorded, not, in addition to like the surveillance that's already like on, on us, but,
Yep. Camera.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. Hi. There are also bears in the background.
That's
so
fine.
If you see that, just sit tight. So today we have a doozy for you. We have William Girdler's 1976, just
Grizzly.
Grizzly, just wonderful.
Yeah.
And
our second Jaws ripoff.
Yes. Yeah. One of the first as well.
Yep.
So, and we're definitely going to get into that. So now you guys get to see the man behind the curtain, reading things. But so the first two things that I thought about are like, looked into before I even watched the movie, like just knowing what I wanted to go into, was obviously focusing on environmentalism.
Right.
And so the movie comes out in 1976. The year before that is the Endangered Species Act.
Oh, okay.
That was put to Congress in 1973, and it was finally passed in 1975. Now, at the time that happens, there's only about like 1,000 grizzly bears left in the wild.
Oh, Christ.
And at one point, that number was over 50,000.
Right.
And so obviously hunting, deforestation, pollution, lack of, their food sources. Like now, like we're dipping into their fish supply.
Yeah.
So all of that like really like decimated this, this population. And so that makes it a very interesting time for this movie to come out. And there was also something like really to address the growing concern, not just over grizzly bears, but for the environment itself, which is something like I think is really crucial to all of this. But the United Nations, again, in 1975, had the State of the Environment. And I'd just like to read like a little quote here. The purpose of this report is to help man understand the interacting forces that shape our future, to point up the kinds of actions required to enable man to avoid the dangers he faces and maximize the opportunities to ensure his survival and well-being on planet Earth. Now, that was 50 years ago.
Right.
And the United Nations is talking about us having to do something to save the environment.
I'm so glad they listened 50 years ago.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with any sort of climate crisis at the moment.
Yeah. And this is in a moment where, 1975, naturally, it's the year that Jaws comes out.
Yes.
Which is crucial. And I guess I'll like bounce around. We'll bounce around with like Jaws because that's going to come up a lot.
Yeah.
I guess.
Even more than it did for Alligator.
Yeah. Yeah. Because this is really,
this is
really a ripoff.
Almost
or
beat for beat.
I call it a tear off. Yeah. So, but after Jaws, the natural progression of exploitation and eco-terror is to bring the animal threat closer to man and to show the animal even more than Jaws. Giving the audience more of the threat normalizes the experience of seeing the spectacle. But does more equal more terrifying? Is a very important question, I think.
I have an opinion about that when it comes to this movie.
Uh-huh. Now, unless the goal is not to scare, but to draw attention to an audience, to an audience's need for the adrenaline rush.
Right.
In which case, exploitation is a mirror. Now, if people were truly upset and offended by the subject matters, they wouldn't pay to see an almost endless supply of grindhouse-worthy fare. The audience rejects the screen because the audience rejects the part of themselves that enjoys the perverse, the pornographic, and the pulp.
Yeah, we talked about this a bit in the last episode.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why this is a very good follow-up. I mean, the same decade that Grizzly is coming out, we have The Exorcist, we have Deep Throat, we have Cabaret, we have Taxi Driver. Audiences clearly want more. Like, they want more of this grime that has pervaded America, especially in its major cities. And a country low on energy, low on morale, high on the thrill of going to the theater and seeing the most degenerate behavior they could see in a country where economic decline, power crises, political corruption, and losing an international conflict were unimaginable. A few years into the 70s, and suddenly it is a reality. The impossible was more than possible. It was happening every fucking day. So why couldn't Satan possess an innocent young girl? Why couldn't a shark, larger than any shark in the history of sharks, appear off the coast of Martha's Vineyard? Why couldn't a president abscond from office in shame in the middle of his term? And why would a grizzly bear of monstrous proportions not terrorize those perpetrating on sacred ground? The 70s was proof that anything goes.
Right.
So that's very much like the opening context for this, is that we're in the wilderness with Grizzly. Like, it is not fun.
The movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie, for being just a regular 90-minute feature, it feels a lot, like, kind of drags. It does kind of drag.
And I think that's the fault of Jaws. Like, we have seen the pacing of a film where you're not seeing the threat.
Right. And the pacing's so well for Jaws. It's so perfect.
The editing is perfect.
Right.
Like, but Grizzly doesn't have that.
No, because it's an independent film.
Yeah. And I mean, good on it for making
$39 million with a $750,000 budget.
It's a lot.
Was one of the best grossing films of 1976. But when you look at the top films in 1976, it's not on that list.
No. And no, I mean, in the same year that we have Rocky and Taxi Driver and All the President's Men, we also have Grizzly.
Yeah.
And what I think is hilarious is that despite like not having the most thrilling time, like the most thrilling viewing experience, I still think that it offers a lot, and I think it's wrapped up in a lot of the politics of the moment,
right?
In the same way that, to a different degree, obviously, that like All the President's Men and Taxi Driver are like, you know, tackling a different area of America's deeply troubled political scene. So I just got a little bit more so we can get into the animals.
Preach.
There you go. And this one ends with a question. Okay. So like then you know that we should be fine. So I was thinking that like also I was like shit-faced when I wrote this. So like if anything doesn't make sense.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grizzly will do that.
Uh-huh. Oh, well, not while I was watching. I was just at a bar just writing this.
That's fine.
And so I'm thinking this, and I had not watched the movie when I'm like trying to do this.
Okay.
But then more came after.
That's fine.
So I did watch the movie. So films with animals as their monsters is a reminder to the viewer that man is constantly at war with his own surroundings, and that the environment is something fought with more than fought for. And the conservation narrative that nature needs to be tamed is present in the same film that nature reacts to our aggression and returns it tenfold. These exploitation films don't need to exaggerate much when it comes to environmental concerns in the way that they exaggerate a lot more with like any other type of exploitation.
Right.
You know, again, Nazi werewolves, like that's a, you know, but with Grizzly, you don't need to go that far.
No. It's a bit more down to earth.
Yeah. 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 A little bit more bearable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the future soon to come and the present that we find ourselves in, where the planet turns against us in a last-ditch effort to rid itself of the uninvited guest, slowly raising the thermostat. The Grizzly is either, depending on how you want to look at it, is either a prophet of doom,
Right.
A natural and inevitable conclusion to our misdeeds, or it's an ironclad reminder that our biggest threats are things we can't
Control. Yeah. Oh no, is it stuck?
Yeah, it is control.
Okay, perfect.
It was just at the, you know, at the end.
You can't control a million-year-old 18-foot bear.
Okay, they say 15 foot throughout the movie,
I
and the
know.
poster says 18
Yes.
foot, which is hilarious.
I know. 2 tons of them. 25. 2 tons of them. That's a different film. That's fine.
Now, if the films care more about profit than message, what does it mean? Exploitation allows for maximal profit, but the budgets remain almost non-existent. If the film wants to compete in, you know, a capitalist arena, it must minimize cost and hope for profits at least 2, 3, or 4 times as much. Yeah. Now, is this capitalizing on suffering or emphasizing its effects in order to make an impact on the viewer? Thoughts?
Honestly, I just think it's just a big Jaws ripoff. I don't think it's trying to do anything much clever with its premise.
Okay. Now that's also a general question.
Because it was filmed in Georgia. I know Georgia
Yeah.
has a lot of tax write-offs when it comes to films and things. And I know the director had thought about making this film, or was it the writer? Because something he saw, witnessed a bear attack, or he heard about bear attacks. But it is important that you do keep bringing up exploitation.
Yes.
Because the director, before doing this,
Does nothing but.
yes,
Um,
he did 3
maybe.
black exploitation films. One was an Exorcist ripoff.
Yeah. Yeah. If in like a 6-year period,
Yeah.
William Girdler has not just an unfortunate last name, but
It's a weird last name.
maybe one of the best strings of titles
Yes.
in a short period of time, because when you start off with Asylum of Satan, you're like, how do you top that? Easy. You go 3 on a meat hook, and then The Zebra Killer,
Yep.
which is about I think a black guy who just like starts fucking killing white people.
Cool.
I think that was that was his first.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Abby, which is the
Yeah. Exorcist ripoff.
and then Sheba Baby, which is very popular, also blaxploitation, and then Grizzly. Then you've got Project Kill, and then Day of the Animals, which is a quasi sequel to Grizzly,
Yeah.
because it's more animals being thrown at you.
There is a quasi sequel to Grizzly, though, called Grizzly 2. And it was filmed in 1983. And it has 3 particular, at the time, nobodies: George Clooney, Charlie Sheen, and Laura Dern. Guess when that film released?
Never.
Last year.
Oh.
Because I don't think it ever officially finished.
Oh. Okay.
So it's just been like
There.
in development hell or pre-production hell for like 40 years. Just released last year. Grizzly 2.
That's terrible.
I know.
That's terrible. I mean, also, like, that sucks for the movie just
I know.
sitting there for all that long.
I know. Even more terrible is the director's, because the director, even though he made a lot of low budget, maybe not the lowest budget, like exploitation films and low budget caliber stuff in that nature, they were successful. They made quite a bit of money. And I think the last film he did was a body horror even before Cronenberg came on the scene.
Right at the
And
same time.
yeah,
The Manitou.
yeah. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, he only had like a 6-year film career because he died in a helicopter crash at like age 30, working on his next project.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But in that short period of time, it's very obvious that all of these movies are using exploitation to tackle pretty much everything that like white America is afraid of.
Yeah.
So like Black power, Black nationalism, Satanism, and the wilderness.
Bears.
Yeah.
Brown bears, not black bears.
Yeah. Definitely not. That cub was definitely a black bear.
Yes, it was.
But
And some shots of like the legs moving
are black bears.
are black bears.
Yeah.
It's fine.
they got the stock footage they needed of bears, and that's all they needed. Yeah, all of that's bringing us to this moment where like environmentalism is the chief concern
Right.
in the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the political buzzword. It's important, and not just like me like trying to like throw something to see if it'll stick, but like when the setting of the movie is in a national park,
Right.
and the moment that it's coming out, national parks are expanding,
Mm-hmm.
like the number of
People
acreage,
going.
like
Oh, okay.
there
That way.
like there's actual legislation being passed by both Nixon and Carter to expand
Mm-hmm.
the acreage of these national parks. Like Jimmy Carter signed something to make more of Alaska protected.
Oh, okay.
Also under Carter, the redwood forest in California,
Mm-hmm.
that expanded. So like the 60s and 70s were probably like one of the last major pushes to protect more of America's greenery.
Right.
And to have a movie where you're having like taking a bear and killing as many people as possible.
So many people.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no. The body count in this is higher than Jaws.
It's like 8 or 9
I think I counted.
because there's 4 women. I thought it was all just going to be women.
Okay, so there are 7 people and then a horse and a bear cub.
Right.
So 9 lives are taken.
Right.
That horse got fucking decapitated.
That bear punched that fucking horse's head off.
That was impressive. That was absolutely impressive.
Oh man.
Now all of that's important, but like
Right.
we get throughout the movie, we see the signs that there's no hunting allowed.
Yep.
Right off the beginning, right from the beginning, the park supervisor says, I think it was the park supervisor who said that there couldn't be a grizzly bear because they were all killed.
Yeah.
Like they were wiped out long ago.
The way he says it makes it feel like there was a prequel film before this about a war against bears.
Yeah. More than likely.
It's like an Obi-Wan, like the wiped out years ago. And he just has like a moment of flashback, like,
Yeah.
oh god. The bear wars.
The park supervisor was a great parallel to the mayor.
Yes, like he almost
of
looks a lot like
Amityville.
him.
Yeah. One of the better parallels in the movie.
Yes.
And
A bit more like flimsy, bit more two-dimensional.
yeah. So like all of this is happening again. Like the park system is big. Like it's also like a time where people are traveling to them.
Yeah.
So the film, again, if it's going to exploit something, it just has to exaggerate what's already there.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorite subjects comes into this, and if you just again bear with me.
Right.
So I've already mentioned him, but at the time of President Nixon's election, America produced more than 200 million tons of air pollutants,
Damn.
while also on a yearly basis throwing out more than 100 million car tires and 30 billion glass bottles every year. That's the kind of world,
Right.
that's the kind of state that this country is in. It was growing increasingly aware of how quickly excess turns into pollution and the harmful consequences that come with it. So if you go back just a little bit, in 1955 is the first ever Air Pollution Control Act, because the smog in New York and Los Angeles were so bad that people were dying. And people were dying, and like hundreds of people were getting sick.
This is just in 55.
Yeah, this is in the 50s. Like, because you have all these factories that are just pumping these fumes into the air. You have all of these cars on the road. Like, they don't, like, they're not made to be fuel efficient. They're not made to be, eco-friendly. Like, that's not even an idea. Nobody gives a shit back then. And suddenly you have, I mean, it's really easy to find. I mean, you just look at pictures of New York and LA in the 50s, and like the sky doesn't exist. It's just smog. Yeah. And there was a book that was published, this shows how bad it was. An economist, John Kenneth Galbraith, published The Affluent Society, and this was a bestseller. Right, so an economist publishing a bestseller means that there's got to be something. It said that consumer culture's negative impact on the environment and on our quality of life was something that we needed to address. And a couple of years after that, Rachel Carson, a naturalist, wrote another bestseller called Silent Spring. And this was the first time that the American public started realizing that there were pesticides on their food.
Right.
And the whole movement against DDT in particular starts with this book, like with this push, because nobody knows what they're eating.
Yeah.
Like, all of this is so new. And of course, like, whether companies knew or didn't, it's still a case of, you got chemicals on your produce. Like, that's not okay. And this is kind of where this is like the breaking moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end of the decade, the Cuyahoga River, which goes through Cleveland, it caught on fire because there was so much toxic waste
being pumped into it.
Yeah, from all the factories in the
It's
city.
it's runoff, right?
Yeah,
runoff.
If you look up the river, it looks like clay.
Oh, cool.
Like, it doesn't look like water. Like, it was sludge.
Awesome.
And the river on fire happened in the 50s as well.
When like the ideal America was like pristine perfect because we won the war and everything's better than it's ever been.
And in a weird way, or in a weird moment, the image of the river on fire was the cover of Time, but they used the picture from the 50s because it wasn't in color.
Right.
And so it didn't look as bad. When really it's just terrible.
It was on fucking fire.
It's on fire. Because
water's on fire.
What had happened was a train went by and a spark from the wheels just like jumped into the river, and then it set it ablaze.
I hope to God no one was swimming in there.
Oh, I don't think anything could have survived in there.
Oh, God.
So obviously it's time for a change. And what's really interesting is that in this moment, it's people from both sides of the aisle. Like, it's both Democrats and Republicans saying that we need to change things. Like, what matters most is that this was a middle class effort.
Right.
Because these are the people who are worried about their children, where their children are going to school, their property values, the neighborhoods that they live in, because like things were getting really dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was so much like littering and all of that. Like, it wasn't a place that people wanted to raise their kids. When it came time to the election, regardless of candidate, people demanded environmental change. And like that was like every election cycle, there's always like a buzzword.
Right.
Environment was a big one. And by no means was Richard Nixon a tree hugger.
No.
But he was so deeply insecure about needing people to like him that he embraced it.
Like, he embraced the thing he hated the most, which was hippies.
Yeah, exactly. And the irony is that Nixon is actually one of our greatest environmental presidents.
Just out of sheer spite.
Yeah. and you know, he was not like anyone had a gun up to his head or anything. Like, he could have not done these things.
He just wanted to be liked so much.
And he thought what he was doing by being pro-environmental concern was actually putting him in a tradition with Theodore Roosevelt, who is obviously the greatest Republican president of the 20th century, if not all time.
Right. If you can even argue that. I think his second term was independent. It was the Bull Moose Party.
Well, he didn't win the election as the Bull Moose, but yeah.
Theodore Roosevelt spent a lot of his time in his presidency creating the national parks that we have today, honestly.
Yeah. If it's not for him, then we don't have really conservation on a federal or national scale. But unfortunately for Richard Nixon, his reputation is not determined by environmental decisions. President Nixon's resignation on August 9th, 1974, it ended more than 2 years of all the Watergate bullshit that people were having to read about and listen to and see like on a daily basis. All of the speculation, the theories, the hearings, all of it about to what extent government corruption had gone to.
Yeah.
And this is, this is barely like a decade after John F. Kennedy's assassination, where again, the people were in a position where they didn't know who to trust. And so this bond between the American people and specifically the White House is completely broken.
Yeah.
And I personally, honestly, I don't think it ever was mended. And, as far as like all the things that happened then after that, I mean, with the fall of Saigon, ending the Vietnam War in 1975, that couldn't do it. All it did was show that the United States was no longer invincible.
Right.
And then 2 months after that last helicopter was pushed off the aircraft carrier, Jaws becomes the first blockbuster, summer blockbuster. And of course made everyone afraid to
go in the water.
Go in the water.
Even probably still.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with a ton of films that followed, that tried to imitate it.
Yep.
And then other movies challenged it for like box office supremacy. The country finally has a distraction.
Yeah.
And
for something just for literally everyone to go and forget about the on fire river that is the country.
Yeah, exactly.
For 2 hours.
Yeah, before the dumpster fire, it was the river fire. Absolutely. Like it's just something to
be scared of something artificial instead of the real world.
Yeah. And by the time like Star Wars comes out, it's like you are completely not in you're not in this galaxy anymore.
Nope.
So like it's the summer blockbuster is doing its trick of completely taking you away
Mm-hmm.
from everything. But as we see with Grizzly, or at least, I like to think with Grizzly, no film is ever apolitical. Everything has a political nature.
Maybe there is in Grizzly, but because of how like Piss Poor tries to be a Jaws ripoff, some of that gets kind of forgotten and just vaguely talked about.
But it's still there.
It's still there.
It's still there. I think just, and some movies like Jaws, they're just better at keeping it under the surface.
Yeah.
Which allows you to have like all of these animal attack movies without you having to think really about what's happening.
Yeah, I think most like the animal attack movies or the animal adjacent horror movies have their own little bit of like environmentalism in it. Alligator did, yeah.
Absolutely.
Orca.
Yeah. Like this animal's not just attacking you because it wants to attack you. Like it's attacking you because like you fucked up.
I know. But I think in regard to Grizzly, it's more of just because it wants to attack.
Yeah.
Wants to fucking eat people.
Yeah. And so I think that Grizzly, it fits perfectly into this narrative of like environmentalism and like government corruption and just like the senselessness of death.
We have to keep the forest open.
We have to keep the forest open. I've heard that before.
Generic national park forest, as you know, means friendship.
Yeah.
They never say what the national park is.
No, which is intentional because it could be any of them.
It could be in your very home.
Exactly. And so a 15-foot grizzly is one thing, but a bear...
2 tons.
Yeah.
It's a fucking massive thing.
But a bear is never just a bear.
No.
That's my like... Okay, I said it wasn't fun. Like, it's more interesting than it is enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot more fun to think about it than to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, just goes to show that you can have the blueprint.
Yeah.
But it's not going to land.
The film's competently shot and directed, and everyone does a fine job performing in it most of the time. It's just kind of stale. There's a lot going on, but not a lot going on at the same time.
Yeah.
There's characters that are introduced and there's relationships and stuff, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't add anything.
It could have gone further, I think, like as an exploitation movie.
Yeah.
I was prepared in like at least 2 situations to see titties.
I know.
And spoiler, there aren't any. Like when the one cop, like, before she gets eaten,
who's introduced in the beginning of the film and I thought was going to be a main character.
Yeah, no. And then the 2 girls in the beginning, like
the 2 ADR twins.
Yeah.
My favorite game of this movie is to try to figure out who's being ADR'd in particular scenes. There's a lot of it.
I honestly thought that like one of those, like one of the girls, I think the one with like the flannel.
Yeah.
Like at one point, because the bear attacked her, and I thought that her shirt was going to come off, and I was like, okay, this would be appropriate for a monster bear movie.
Yeah.
But no, it would show you what it could give you, and then it didn't. Like the whole thing with the park supervisor going to Washington and being a politician, it's like they mentioned it like 2 or 3 times.
Such a vague.
And it's like they could have gone more. Like, because here, like this fucker is threatening the lives.
And my thing is like, you run a national park. You're not going into Congress.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Unless he's trying to be a representative of whatever the middle of fucking Wyoming or something
but they have to have their mayor Larry, and like he's not a mayor, so they're like give him a political thing somehow. It's like Washington. That's all they say, Washington.
But by him not being a mayor,
right,
it allows for Kelly, the main character,
Chief Brody.
the Brody character, to be a lot more defiant.
Yep.
because he has jurisdiction over the park.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that was an interesting dynamic that
He acts more like a like the police captain more than like just a guy running a park.
Yeah.
You're a maverick.
Yeah, that was
You're a loose
hilarious.
cannon.
Yeah. I was like, man, so that's what it's like to be on the other end of that. Oh man.
The Chief Brody character with his girlfriend, he comes off as kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
He's like he's kind of snarky with a smile, and I'm like, what is your deal?
He's not okay. No, I mean, I get it. Nobody is Roy Scheider.
No.
But there's like no Christopher George plays him. There's like no charisma.
Yeah.
Like he's just like he's either like neutral or he's angry.
Yeah. He's like a knockoff Charleston Heston.
That's interesting that you bring up Heston, because I think at one point he said something and it sounded like John Wayne.
I mean, a lot of these actors were in Westerns.
Yeah. I think that's the answer to the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't think about this until like halfway through. I think it doesn't work as a horror film, or at least not well.
No. Because there's no suspense. There's no like good pacing. There's no energy to it.
Like even when the bear, like when you get the bear point of view.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because you don't have John Williams' score.
I don't know. The music's just kind of.
Well, the bear has to make that noise.
Yeah.
It has a. So like it loses a little bit of the. It loses all of the terror that comes from just silently going through the water, and the score has to
make up that.
Yeah. It has to take over. There's no
nuance.
It doesn't have that relationship. But I think as a Western, especially towards the end, it's a much better Western. It's like a weird, like maybe Western horror hybrid.
Yeah. Because it does pick up at the end, even because there's a lot less going on, and it makes it more engaging because we have the Brody character.
You have the Hooper character.
Which I still don't know if it's the helicopter pilot or the crazy man who wears the bear cape.
Oh, Hooper is definitely Scott.
Okay.
And
sometimes you can't tell.
And then Dan.
Yeah.
Don, the helicopter pilot, he's not Quint until he has the moment of the story.
That weird speech about the Native Americans. I'm like, I know what you're trying to do. It's not working.
Yeah.
You're not Robert Shaw.
But it's there.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that's clearly, I mean, before that moment, I kept thinking like, really? You're not going to put a Quint in there?
Mm-hmm.
You've got, like, you went to the effort, you know, of getting the others.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have like the best part.
Where's like the crazy grizzled captain?
Yeah, I was waiting for like some fucking woodsman to come out and be like, I've killed bears my entire life.
I'll get this bear for you, but it ain't gonna be easy. Bad animal.
My wife was killed by a bear.
Get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
But the paws are mine. You know, I was waiting for a character like that, and I thought when they introduced the Hooper character, when they introduced Scott, I thought he was going to be. It was like, oh look, he's wearing
the beanie.
Yeah, you know, but no, he was just Hooper. He was just the scientist that no one wanted to listen to.
Yep.
Also, the man just wanted to eat his sandwiches.
I know. What was that thing about taking it outside? Like he can eat it inside. Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah,
it's like there's a time and a place. Like, for God's sakes,
I mean, after like the ridiculous product placement of
with the Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Yep, I know what that was for. You can't hide that from me.
No. And then just the sandwich. I don't even know what kind of sandwich that was.
It was a ham sandwich.
It looked like mostly bread. Like it looked like the bread was like that much, and But I mean, if he was enjoying it,
Yeah.
you don't come between a man and a sandwich.
No. The movie does like a weird throwaway thing where he's talking about Vietnam.
The pilot.
And we learned that he's a racist.
Yeah. Yeah. He, and like, that was a moment where he became interesting.
Uh-huh.
Cause like, okay, the story that he told of like the Native Americans and the bears being killed and all of that, it wasn't personal. So like, it was just like a story.
Or was it? Was he talking about he saw it? It was very vague.
I don't know. He made it sound like it took place like a while back. Yeah. But when he talks about his experiences in the war, absolutely, he is mega racist towards Vietnamese. But it goes to show that when someone doesn't look at someone as human,
right,
they can do anything to them. The moment that you disregard life as being important and of value, you can do anything without any feeling of remorse, which is exactly what happens to all of these animals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of the animals that are hunted.
Yeah. Not even for meat, for sport.
Yeah, to the point of extinction. You know, the idea that like a quintessential American animal like the buffalo, was like almost gone.
Yeah,
because it was just. I mean, you've seen like the
picture of like the 20-foot high pile of skulls. Thousands of them.
Yeah, and so I think the moment where the guys are hunting the bear.
Yeah.
Not the main crew, but
the
jabronis. Yeah. Because the outrage is like, they're just going to kill anything.
Yeah.
Like you told them that they're going for a bear, but what if they kill the bears that have been
protected,
like tagged and are like known to be in the forest? And like the camera makes it very clear that this is a no hunting zone.
It zoomed right on the sign.
And like they're going with their dogs. Like it's a huge pack.
Dozens of guys.
And
surprised no one got shot.
Yeah, really.
I thought they were gonna do like the thing where like, yeah, we got the bear. Mm-hmm. We get the big old bears. Like, oh, there's no bears in these woods. And then like the chance of these bozos getting the bears 100-1, Brody, 100-1. I want to be sure. You want to be sure. What I want to do is really simple. We'll dissect it. Whatever's been eaten in the last 24 hours, it's bound to be in there. I don't want to see that little boy's legs spill all over the forest.
See, and the kid loses his leg. I don't know how.
I felt bad. That scene made me laugh a bit.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Because you just see like these fake bear hounds pick up the
kid. Yeah, I thought he was gonna like.
Which like bears can't do that, but it's like weep, eat. No, you're mine now.
Then they just left us to assume that the mother's dead.
Yeah, mom's dead. But it's just like it's at that moment because like Mayor Larry is like, we're not gonna close it. But and I guess one boy, after two of his park employees got, like 5 women. It's the little boy that does it. If Larry would have signed the papers when Alex Kettner got it in Jaws, Quint may have still been alive.
It really just goes to show how that you can take like all of those elements, and no matter how hard you try to replicate them, it's just not like it. You can't even imitate it.
Yeah,
I think like. You would have to do something completely different. And I think if that were the case, the film would have been a lot stronger.
Yeah.
As opposed to just having these moments every now and then where you're like, oh, that's really cool.
There's not really any moment like that.
I like when the girl is in the shed.
Oh, right.
And you don't know what the bear is going to do.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the bear was going to do. And when the bear just like, fucking like broke into the top, was not expecting that. So that I didn't jump, but it was surprising.
Yeah. Let's talk about the bear. Contrasting with Jaws, we always get small glimpses of the shark until like come shovel some of this shit and boop, shark goes up. It's like, oh, that's the first time we see it.
Mhm.
Gonna need a bigger boat and all that. We always get like this fake swipes of these fake
Yeah.
bear claws, and that's all we get. We just get noises. But the moment they show the bear, and I say that in quotations because the bear, just a bear, it's the fucking bear.
Yeah.
And the moment they show the bear in its full force, that's when the movie really tanks for me, because I see that bear, that big fluffy bear, and I go, that's not threatening. They don't even give it like make it do scary faces or growl. It just opens its mouth. Oh, no.
Oh, it's the same footage played over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, all of the footage of the bear
Yep.
is like they just kept using.
Yep.
So they got me first time because I was wondering. I was like, okay, when will they reveal the face of the bear? And when they show the eyes, and I was like, oh, that's it. And it was like 45 minutes in, and then I realized that was the baby bear.
Yeah.
And
That cute little friendly
cute little
baby bear just
yeah.
wanted cuddles.
And 10 minutes later, you see the actual bear face. And yeah, like once it's like there are moments where Girdler does a really good job of making the bear seem abnormally large.
Yeah.
But then in the shots of the bear running,
It just looks like
because it's a regular bear.
It's a big bear.
Yeah, like it's
the Kodiak bear, which is one of the biggest brown bear species.
but like
He was 11 feet tall.
but like it just loses it.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
He just bloom, like he's just bounding
Yeah.
about, like he's just a big fluffy guy.
yeah,
There's nothing threatening about it. His name's Teddy.
of course
Behind
it
the
is.
scenes. He wasn't really. They had a bear trainer, and what they did was they just got like a wire around like the cast and the crew, like yarn and like an egg timer to mimic a electric fence to keep him at arm's bay. And whenever they had to need him to open his mouth, they just throw marshmallows at him.
Marshmallows.
Teddy likes his marshmallows.
Aw.
Yeah. See, it's like it's the moment. Like I was expecting, like a man in a bear costume or animatronic bear. Nah, just a regular bear. And he's not. He's not really threatening. So at the moment when they just show it full force, I'm like, how much more time we got? Because it just loses it for me. Because like the bear's not threatening. There's no tension. It's fun seeing the three amigos go at it, but they're not together.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
Brody.
Scott dies.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, and then Don gets it.
And
So-
Don gets it in the most anticlimactic way. He gets buried. He's alive. He gets up and he just looks at the bear and goes, and just like it fades. I'm like, oh, okay. And like the damage that we see after is not really that much. It's just a slightly bloodier back. I'm like, I thought I was gonna see limbs being teared.
Yeah, they really didn't go for the gore in this.
The goriest thing is when the photography lady like tripped and like mid-arm length pull of blood. I'm like, where did that come from?
I don't know.
What was that, like a puddle?
Puddle blood.
Even like the bear's death isn't like gory because
Oh, shit. We got to talk about that.
Talk about that.
Okay.
Because it's a Jaws ripoff. You know, they kind of have it a Jaws ripoff.
You know, I was hoping that wasn't going to happen.
I was hoping it would happen, but I was hoping it would be more spectacular.
It was not.
It was boring as shit.
So, okay, to go back, when you said the bear not being like a man in a bear costume, that made me think that maybe, and this is really weird, that even though that bear in real life would be terrifying if you were to like, walk up to it.
Right.
But on screen, and not so much.
No.
But if that was an animatronic bear, maybe. Like then we could have seen like more, I don't know, I guess like more fluid movement of the arms.
Yeah. It could have been a scarier face.
Yeah.
Just like they could have made a real hulking, like the bear from goddamn Fox and the Hound. That frightening son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That's a big bear.
Yeah. And like also then they could have, the actors could have gotten right up to it.
Yeah.
Like they could have done a lot more, maybe shown like actual like bites
Yep.
being taken out.
But with it being a $750,000 budget,
Yeah.
there's only so much they can do, which was just get a big fluffy guy.
Yeah. It's amazing that it's cheaper to get a real bear
I know.
than it is to build one.
I mean, Jaws had the bigger budget. They
Yeah.
could afford to get the crappy animatronic that didn't work.
Like, what does that say about the state of the country that like that like a real bear is cheaper?
I know.
Something about that doesn't sit right with me. Yeah, the blowing up was pretty. It was pretty bullshit.
I don't even remember them bringing in the bazooka or even mentioning the bazooka.
It was mentioned
once.
Yes.
They mentioned it. They don't even like, here's my bazooka. We could use this.
Don tells Kelly that he used this during the war.
Yeah.
And that this would be the thing. Oh, no, I think it was, I mean, Kelly was there, but he was mainly telling Scott because Scott was like, I've got this tranquilizer bullet.
Doesn't even get brought up.
Yeah.
That bullet doesn't even get brought up. It's not like in the cage where Hooper tries to stab the shark with it.
Yeah.
Doesn't even attempt to use it.
No. No, he got, well, because his horse got fucking decapitated. Like.
Christ.
Oh, no.
That horse got it the worst out of anybody.
He really did.
If that bear can decapitate the horse, there should not be anything left in those bodies that it
No, especially not
mauled.
Like little Jimmy.
Mauled. Not even mauled. We forget. He was eating them.
Yeah.
This bear was fucking eating people.
Yeah. He was so hungry that he ate
Yeah.
a cub.
Yeah.
Like.
Bears, like all that bears eat are fish. That's the most like protein meat they get. They don't eat I don't assume they don't eat deer. No. It's like just fish.
If they scavenge. Like they eat lots of like berries and roots and
they're not gonna eat
fish.
Muncha like organs. Yeah, bears. They're not gonna eat like the organs of a dead deer or whatever. So it's just, I guess this bear like, you know what I'm tired of? Fucking fish. These ADR ladies sound good.
Humans on the menu.
Look like meat's back on the menu, boys. But yeah, the bear just fucking explodes.
Yeah.
In a not tense scene at all.
No.
It's not tense.
They
try to mimic like the scene where they're chasing after the shark and Jaws, and it does the really like cool bombastic adventure music, and it's awesome and great. And they tried doing that with these two bozos running after it, trying to do this high octane energy, but in music it just doesn't work.
No.
Because the bear's just going at a leisurely pace, and they're like kind of slightly jogging. The guy doesn't even get a cool one-liner. Like, there's no smile, you son of a bitch.
No.
There's nothing. It's just him like, oh, bazooka don't work. Blip. You don't even get, there's no like carcass. There's no bits or chunks coming out. Just like a cloud. You don't need, there's no burning carcass. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Then the guy just saunters over next to dead Quint. Just like, no. And the movie ends.
Yeah, there's no repercussions for the park supervisor.
Nope.
The reporter girl.
What about the reporter guy with that matted frizzle hair?
Yeah. Oh, the one that looked like he belongs in like a Einstein lookalike contest.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that fucking hardo. Okay. Okay, so that hardo was so hell bent on getting coverage of the mother.
The truth.
Yeah. Like, how many people have already died? Like, I think you know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a bear. Like, we know it's a bear.
That's the one thing I liked about it. Like 15 minutes in the first bear attack, there was like no bullshit. Like, it was a bear.
Yeah.
They're neat. It was just
not like, oh, is there a serial killer in these woods?
No, it's a bear.
Nope, it's a bear.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's, it gives you exactly what it says it's going to give you.
For better and for worse.
Yes. Yeah. I think my only disappointment was I thought it would be more exploitative, but I think that says more about me than it does about the movie.
I thought, because like the first victims, first 4 of them were women, I thought that bear was this kind of creature of the Black Lagoon and have a woman in his arms like, woman.
That was, yeah, up until he killed, who was the first guy that he killed?
Was it the quote unquote boyfriend ranger that the girl ranger was, they say was sweet on? But
No, because he got away.
No.
He did.
The guy with the long hair. The guy who, no, the boyfriend guy who was in the watchtower.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the one that the bear, like,
Brr.
he tears down the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was crazy. That was ridiculous. That was crazy.
Because I thought it was just going to be women. I thought the bear was going after the long-haired hunter guy because he had long hair. The bear thought, woman.
I mean, that would have been a really interesting, like, what happens if you have a bear killer who hates women?
Yeah.
Like,
because I thought that's what, like, that's what the exploitation was going to be. Just like a...
See, which would have been interesting, or I guess more in line with what I would expect if, like, you know, every time he goes to like kill a woman, like her top comes off,
right,
and like, oh, okay, here we go. We've got tits and blood. Perfect. And the bear just like devours her. That would have been, I guess that's what I was expecting.
And there was a weird thought where I was thinking, guys, the image in my head was like the bear, creature of the Black Lagoon, taking this woman by the arms. And when that image came to my head, I'm like, we're going to have a scene with a bear fucks a woman.
I mean, if you pay enough.
I feel like that becomes a completely different movie. And because the movie's trying to be more highbrow than it is.
Yeah. I think maybe its problem is that it's too serious.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just trying so much to be Jaws in such an nth degree.
Yeah.
That it's what it wants to be, and not like something vaguely similar, but like in its own unique way.
Because, I mean, look at how much I was able to get from it not being great.
Yeah.
If it was like a little bit campier,
yeah,
it would like there would have been so much more to like, I don't know, to contextualize it with, like, or just like to try to understand it, as opposed to just
be more of a fun watch.
Yeah, at the very least that.
Because like when we put it in the old magic random box magic genie man to give us our film, we're like, Grizzly, oh, this would be fun.
Yeah, not fun.
No, it's like the first dud we've had in a while.
I was just thinking that, and like, this is, we've had
just a string of excellent films.
Just, we got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, flew too close to the sun.
Goddamn wax wings.
Uh-huh.
Fucking bears.
Yeah. Bear wings.
Yeah. Why did they do it? Oh, they're hanging out. They're chilling.
Yeah.
Look at them. They're not scary. Bears are cute. They're cute.
Yeah. Not terrified of that. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything? Did we exhaust it?
I think so.
Is that as much Grizzly as can be?
I know.
Are we grizzled out?
I'm grizzled out.
Okay. Oh, my favorite line was at one point when they're looking on the map and they've got the thumbtacks. I think it was Don who said, you know, a bear's got patterns. and I thought that was great, of just like, bears got patterns. There's something about that. It's true, but right. Like,
it makes me think of like, bears got style.
Yeah, exactly. Got patterns. It's got swatches. So yeah, now I guess we have to say, look us up on YouTube.
Yeah, we're going to be on YouTube
and
on Ghost City Tours YouTube page. We'll post a video too on Facebook.
Yeah, and Facebook.
But we're live and in color. Isn't that crazy? Look, faces. God. If we're not what you're expecting us to look like from what we're sound, we're sorry. But we can't help that. I'm so sorry.
That'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it. Well, hopefully you got something out of, learning about the National Park Services.
Yep. It's been a while since we've done like a heavy like history one.
Yeah, there was I guess like here a little like tidbit to end on, but throughout the entire 70s, the Park Service did a survey of all of the national parks to see like what condition they were in
Right.
and like what needed to be done. And like in 1980, they finished it, and their conclusion was, it wasn't that great. like they had a lot of work to do.
Right.
So
Here's another tidbit for you. How many bear attacks do you think happen in the United States every year?
say 3,
It's like less than 1.
less than 1.
Yeah. That's what it says. That's what the statistics say.
Less than 1.
Like I think in Canada, there's like less than 5 that happened in the last 100 years.
Holy shit.
But like in worldwide, from like 2000 to 2015, it's like 600 people. Which sounds like a lot, but it's like worldwide.
Yeah.
Bear attacks rarely happen. This film's bullshit. Fucking bears.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Visceral Reactions. Hopefully next week's episode is
Better?
better.
Yeah.
Who knows what the genie will say.
Yes.
I'm Matthew Jimenez.
But what kind of shark? What kind of shark is it? A tiger shark. A what?
And that's a wrap.